Teen mechanic fixed a biker's flat for free on the highway, then 500 bikes hit his shop at dawn. The rear tire didn't just go flat, it exploded like a gunshot in the dark, and the motorcycle snapped sideways at 70 miles an hour. Sparks sprayed from the rim. A semi screamed on its horn. The rider fought the fishtail, boot-scraping asphalt, and somehow kept the bike from kissing the guardrail. Noah Carter saw the whole thing in his headlights and felt his stomach drop, because if that man went down, there wasn't room on this shoulder for a miracle. Before we continue, tell us in the comments where you are watching this from. Noah's beat-up pickup bumped onto the gravel shoulder. Hazards on. He'd been driving home from his uncle's garage, hoodie still smelling like brake cleaner. Past midnight, Route 12 belonged to trucks and people who didn't want to be seen. He shoved his door open and cold wind hit him like a slap. Traffic tore past close enough to tug at his sleeves. Noah grabbed the flashlight from his console and jogged toward the bike. The rider had muscled the Harley upright and rolled it to the narrow strip between the white line and grass. Big guy. Leather vest over a dark sweatshirt, helmet still on. He stood like he owned the night until he shifted his weight and his left knee dipped a fraction too low. "Don't roll it anymore," Noah shouted. "You'll ruin the rim." The biker turned his helmet. "You a cop?" "No, mechanic, kinda." "My tire blew," the man said, like Noah hadn't watched it detonate. "No kidding," Noah muttered, then caught himself. "Name's Noah. You got a name?" A pause, then, "Duke?" Noah crouched and swept the beam along shredded rubber, black ribbons, bright scrape marks on the rim. He scanned the lane behind them, expecting to see a chunk of metal, a nail strip, anything. Nothing. "You hit something?" Noah asked. "Felt like it," Duke said. Then it let go. Noah's light dipped to Duke's leg again. The man kept it stiff, jaw tight behind the visor. "You should sit," Noah said. "I'm fine." "You're not," Noah said. "And if you go down again out here, you're going under somebody's trailer." Duke didn't answer, but his hands tremored once on the bars before he clenched harder. "You got tools," Duke snapped, "or you just here to lecture?" Noah jogged back to his truck bed and yanked out his highway kit, a scissor jack, a plug-and-patch set, and a compact compressor that sounded like it was dying every time it ran. He'd bought the patches with his last cash. 2 patches. That was it. He carried everything back and set it down beside the bike. Duke glanced back at Noah's pickup. "You carry all that around?" "Yeah," Noah said. "Uncle Ray calls it Noah's bad decision box." "Ray your boss?" "My uncle. It's his shop." Noah tightened a bolt, then checked it twice because his hands didn't trust themselves at this hour. "One bay. Barely stays open." Duke didn't say anything, but Noah felt him listening. "No one's coming for you?" Noah asked without looking up. "You riding alone?" Duke's pause lasted a beat too long. "I'll handle it." That answer told Noah plenty. "How old are you?" Duke asked, watching him. 17. Duke let out a low sound. 17 and you pull over for strangers on Route 12. Noah shrugged. "Either I do or I keep driving and pretend I didn't see you almost die." Duke's shoulders loosened a fraction. Noah slid the jack under the frame. "Hold the bars. Keep it steady." Duke gripped the handlebars. Noah cranked the jack. The bike lifted slow, heavy, and the shoulder suddenly felt even narrower. A pickup blasted past too close, throwing gravel. The Harley rocked. Noah flinched, then a semi roared by and the windblast hit like a wave. The bike swayed on the jack. Noah lunged, palms flat against the bike, catching it before it tipped. Duke locked his arms and held. For a second, both of them just breathed. While Noah worked, Duke shifted his weight again and hissed through his teeth. It was small, almost nothing, but Noah caught it. "You're not fine," Noah said. Duke's gloved hand tightened on the grip. "Just hurry." Noah didn't argue. Arguing on the shoulder was how you got killed. He just moved faster, fingers sliding, tools clinking, eyes flicking to the mirrors of passing cars. A tow truck rolled by in the right lane, slow enough that Noah could see the driver's face turn toward them. The truck didn't stop. It didn't even tap its brakes. It just kept going, steady, like it had already decided this wasn't its problem. Noah watched it disappear and felt that same tightness in his gut again. In town, tow trucks showed up for everything, too fast sometimes. He shook it off and kept working. Fix it, Duke said, quieter now. Not a demand this time. A plea dressed up as one. Noah got the wheel loose enough to access the tube. The tire was torn, but the tube had a clean puncture, one neat hole. Noah frowned. That wasn't what a random blowout usually looked like. He swept the light along the inside of the tire and found it, embedded deep in the rubber, a thin roofing nail. He pried it out with pliers, then scanned the shoulder and spotted another nail glittering near the grass. When Noah pulled the nail free, Duke leaned forward like he might puke. The movement made his bad leg slip. His boot skidded on gravel. Noah shot out an arm and caught him by the vest before he could drop. For a second, Noah felt how heavy Duke really was. Solid adult weight that could crush a kid if it went wrong. Duke yanked himself upright instantly, embarrassment flashing through the body language even with the helmet on. "Let go," he growled. Noah did, hands up. "Fine, don't fall on me. I'm not built for that." He pocketed both before he could talk himself out of it. Duke noticed. "What's that?" "Nails," Noah said. "One was in your tire." "So it fell off a truck," Duke said. "Or somebody tossed them," Noah said, keeping his voice low. "Either way, it's not normal." Duke went still, staring down the dark highway like it might answer him. Then he looked back at Noah. "Fix it." Noah focused on the tube. He roughed the spot, spread glue, waited through the longest 30 seconds of his life as headlights washed over them again and again. Then, he pressed the patch down hard until his thumbs ached. "Where'd you learn?" Duke asked. "My uncle's shop," Noah said. "Carter Auto, Mill Road." Duke's helmet lifted slightly, like he filed that away. Noah reseated the tube, worked the tire back on, tightened bolts. When he clipped the compressor to the valve, it whined and rattled. Noah held it down until the tire firmed up. He lowered the bike and spun the wheel. It turned true. "Good enough to get off Route 12, Noah said. "Not good enough to ride like nothing happened. You need a replacement, and check your other tires." Duke swung a leg over the seat carefully, and that's when Noah saw the back of his vest, an emblem half-dusted with road grime, an iron hawk with wings spread wide. Under it, stitched in white, Iron Hawks. Noah's mouth went dry. Duke caught Noah staring. "You know who we are." "I know how to read," Noah said. Duke reached into his vest and pulled out a thick wallet. He peeled out a bill and held it toward Noah. Duke's hand with the bill hovered between them. "Nobody does this for free." Noah looked at the pouch in his kit where the patches were kept. One slot was empty now. "I just burned my last decent patch," he said. "So trust me, I'm aware it's not smart." "Then why?" Noah swallowed. "Because leaving you here would be worse." Noah's chest tightened. "No." Duke's hand stayed there. "Take it." "I'm not taking your money. You saved my bike." "I patched a tube," Noah said. "That's it." Duke's voice dropped. "You don't know who I am?" Noah met the visor. "I know you're hurt, and I know you almost died out here. Tonight already took enough." Duke went rigid. Then, slowly, he pulled the bill back and tucked it away. "All right," he said. "Then I owe you." "You don't," Noah said. Duke stared at him like he'd never heard someone refuse him without fear. "What's your full name?" Duke asked. "Noah Carter." Duke repeated it once. "Carter." He reached down and wiped grime off the side panel with 2 fingers. Underneath was a small service decal, partly scratched but readable. Noah's eyes snapped to it. Carter Auto, Mill Road. Noah hadn't put that sticker there. Noah knew that decal. Ray printed them on cheap paper, cut them with a box cutter, stuck them on with thumbs that always left a smudged corner. This one had the same crooked edge. Duke nodded, like that confirmed something. "Mill Road," he said again. "One bay shop." Noah's voice tightened. "Yeah." Duke started the engine. The Harley's rumble sank into Noah's chest like a second heartbeat. Duke rolled forward a few feet, then stopped and looked back. His visor lifted just enough for Noah to catch his eyes. Cold, steady, measuring. "Kid," Duke said, voice carried by the engine's growl, "you didn't take my money." "No." Duke dipped his head once. "Then I'll pay you another way." He twisted the throttle and merged into traffic, disappearing into the dark like he'd never been there. Noah stood alone with his kit, one patch left in the pouch, nails cold in his pocket, ears ringing in the sudden quiet. And far down the highway, so low he felt it more than heard it, another engine answered back. Noah didn't tell his uncle about the nails right away. He drove home with them digging into his pocket, radio off, shoulders tight every time headlights swept the mirror. Carter Auto sat off Mill Road. One bay, a half-dead neon sign, the kind of place people forgot until their car died. Duke's voice kept replaying in Noah's head like a faulty starter. Then I'll pay you another way. Ray was still up at the kitchen table, invoices spread out, cold coffee going black in the mug. The only sound was the wall clock and Ray's pen tapping once, then stopping, like even it knew better. "You're late," he said. Noah set his kit down. "I stopped on Route 12. Ray looked up fast. "Stopped how? There was a biker, tire blew, he was going to get killed." Ray's face hardened. "And you pulled over." "I fixed it," Noah said, "enough to limp him off the shoulder." Ray pushed back from the table. "Noah, people get swallowed out there." "I watched him almost go under a semi," Noah said. "I couldn't just drive off." Ray held Noah's eyes, then exhaled through his nose, the way he did when he was trying not to yell. "Did you give him our name?" "No, he saw the sticker." Ray's jaw tightened. "What sticker?" Noah pulled the two roofing nails out and set them on the table. Their thin shadows stretched across the invoices like claws. Ray picked one up, rolled it between his fingers. "Where'd these come from?" "His tire and the shoulder," Noah said. It wasn't a normal blowout. Ray's stare sharpened. "You sure?" "One clean hole, nail buried deep," Noah said, like it was meant to happen. Ray went quiet. He looked at the nail again, then at Noah, like he was seeing his nephew as a moving target for the first time. "Who was he?" Ray asked. Noah swallowed. "Oh, Iron Hawks." Ray's expression closed like a door being locked. "You take money from him?" "No." Ray's shoulders dropped a fraction, relief and dread at the same time. He set the nail down carefully, like it might bite. "Go sleep," he said. "We'll deal with whatever comes in the morning." Noah tried. He lay on the couch, hoodie still on, staring at the ceiling. Outside, the shopyard creaked and settled, and every small sound made his heart jump. He finally slipped under, not because he felt safe, but because his body shut down. At 5:18 a.m., the trailer floor vibrated. Noah's eyes snapped open to a low, rolling hum, engines layered together until it felt like the air itself was shaking. It wasn't coming from one direction. It was surrounding the road, approaching in a wide sweep. Ray was already at the door. When he opened it, cold dawn air rushed in, carrying the rumble straight into Noah's chest and the smell of exhaust into the kitchen. Mill Road was filled. Headlights stretched through the fog in endless rows, 2 by 2, bikes idling tight along the curb and down the street. Chrome and black paint caught the thin gray light. Leather vests, helmets, a few bare faces, hard and quiet. Not a party, a formation, and they weren't scattered. They were organized, leaving driveways clear, keeping off lawns, spacing just enough for emergency vehicles to squeeze through if they had to. That wasn't an accident. That was discipline. Noah's mouth went dry. For a second, he couldn't move, like his body had decided this was a dream and motion would make it real. Ray stepped down from the porch, hands open, moving only far enough to plant himself between the trailer and the shop. Noah grabbed his sleeve. "Uncle Ray." "Stay back," Ray said, voice low. Across the street, porch lights snapped on. A woman in a robe stepped out clutching a phone, eyes wide. Someone yelled from down the block, "Y'all better not bring that mess here," and got answered by nothing but idling engines. Noah's own phone buzzed. 3 messages from kids at school in a group chat he didn't even like. Somebody had already filmed the street from a window and posted it. The caption was 2 words. Carter Auto? Noah turned the screen off, hands shaking. A rider eased out from the front line and rolled into the yard entrance, stopping short of the property line like it mattered. He killed the engine and lifted his visor. Not Duke. Older. Pale eyes. Calm in a way that made Noah's skin crawl because it wasn't performative. It looked practiced. "Morning," the man said. Ray didn't return the greeting. "What do you want?" The man's gaze slid past Ray and fixed on Noah. "I'm here for Noah Carter." Noah's throat tightened. Ray's voice went sharp. "He's 17. The man nodded once. "Name's Cole. Iron Hawks." Behind him, the road was a wall of motorcycles, and Noah finally noticed how many vests carried the same Iron Hawk, wings spread wide. Some had extra bars stitched under it, names, numbers, roles Noah didn't understand. But he understood the weight of all of them being here for one kid. Cole kept his hands visible. Your nephew helped one of ours last night, Route 12. Patched a tire on the shoulder and refused payment. Ray's mouth tightened. That doesn't buy you the right to show up here like this. It doesn't, Cole said evenly. We didn't come to threaten him. Noah's eyes searched the line until he saw Duke's Harley near the front. Duke stood beside it with his helmet off now, left leg stiff, jaw set. When his eyes met Noah's, Duke didn't nod. He didn't smile. He just watched, like he was making sure the kid didn't walk into traffic again. Ray noticed Noah looking and shifted, blocking Noah's view on purpose. If you want to thank him, Ray said, you can do it and leave. Cole's attention stayed on Noah. We need to talk somewhere that isn't a porch. Ray shook his head. About what? Cole's eyes didn't blink. About why a bike blows out on a clean stretch of highway. About nails that don't fall from the sky. Noah felt his pocket go hot, like the nails were burning through denim. A younger hawk, maybe mid-20s, started to step forward, mouth opening like he was about to argue with Ray. Cole lifted one finger. The younger man stopped immediately and stepped back into line. No ego, no defiance, just obedience. Noah's heart thudded harder. Whatever this was, it wasn't chaos. Before Noah could speak, sirens cut through the morning, sharp and rising, coming fast. Ray muttered, "No." Cole didn't flinch. He just listened, head tilted slightly, like he was counting distance. A patrol car barreled into view and braked hard at the end of the line of bikes, lights washing the fog blue and red. Two more cruisers stacked behind it. A fourth slid into the intersection, blocking the road like a lid. Doors slammed. Deputies stepped out, hands hovering near their belts, eyes wide as they took in the sheer number of riders. One deputy lifted a hand to his radio and said something Noah couldn't hear. Another kept staring at the bikes like they were an incoming storm. Sheriff Harlan Pike climbed out of the lead car and adjusted his hat like he was about to give a speech. He scanned the street, then his gaze snapped to the Carter auto sign, then to Noah. Noah's stomach dropped. Pike had been in their shop before, smiling while he warned Ray about permits and inspections like they were favors. Pike walked up to the first row of bikes and stopped, keeping distance while he tried to look in control. "What's going on here?" he called, voice loud enough for the whole street. "This isn't a rally ground." Cole stepped forward one pace. "Morning, Sheriff." Pike's eyes narrowed. "You can't block a residential road." "We'll clear it when we're done," Cole said. "We're here to speak to the kid, respectfully." Pike's smile was thin. "Respectfully," he repeated, like it tasted bad. He waved at his deputies. "Start writing. Plates, names, anything you can get." A deputy took 2 steps toward the nearest bike, then hesitated as 50 heads turned toward him at once. Not hostile, not threatening, just aware. The deputy stopped moving. Pike saw it, and his irritation sharpened into something personal. He took a few steps closer, stopping at the edge of the yard so everyone could see he wasn't scared. His gaze snapped to Noah. "Noah Carter," Ray started. "Sheriff, Noah didn't—" Pike cut him off with a raised hand, still not looking at Ray. "I'm not talking to you." Duke shifted near his bike and took 1 step forward. A few deputies stiffened. Cole lifted 2 fingers without looking back. Duke stopped. Pike noticed. His jaw tightened. "You got a lot of company for a kid who can't keep his nose clean," Pike said, voice pitched for the neighbors and the cameras. Cole's voice stayed calm. "He helped a stranded rider." Pike ignored him and locked eyes with Noah. "You're going to step off that porch and come talk to me, right now, alone," Cole said. "He won't be alone." Pike snapped his head toward Cole. "This isn't your town." Cole didn't raise his voice. "It's his life." Pike's hand drifted toward his belt. "I can shut this place down today," he said, eyes on the Carter auto sign. "Permits, safety, zoning, you think one-bay garages stay open by luck?" Ray's knuckles went white. "Sheriff, we're in compliance." Pike finally looked at Ray, and the smile that came with it was worse than anger. "Ray Carter," he said, like the name belonged to him. "You sure you want to argue compliance with me?" Ray's mouth shut. Pike pointed directly at Noah, like Noah was already guilty. "Get down here," Pike said. "Now." Noah's feet didn't move. Noah felt every eye on Mill Road shift toward him like a spotlight. Neighbors, deputies, hundreds of riders who didn't say a word, yet somehow made the air heavier. Sheriff Pike's finger stayed aimed at Noah like it could pin him in place. Ray stepped forward, half a step, like he could physically block a sheriff's order. "Harlan, he's a kid. Whatever you think is happening." Pike's head snapped. "You're done, Ray." Ray's face tightened. "He patched a tire, that's it." Pike smiled without warmth. "That's never it, not when these people show up at your front door." Cole didn't move closer, didn't raise his voice. "Sheriff, nobody's here to cause trouble. We're going to speak with Noah and leave." Pike's eyes tracked to Cole slowly, like a man deciding where to apply pressure. "Speak. Here's what I'll allow. You can disperse right now, and then I'll speak with Noah." Cole's tone stayed even. "You don't get to isolate a minor in front of a crowd you're trying to provoke." A deputy at Pike's shoulder muttered, "Sheriff?" Pike ignored him. He looked at Noah again. "Last chance, kid. Step down." Noah's legs felt like they belonged to someone else. If he stayed on the porch, Pike would use it as defiance. If he stepped down alone, Pike would own the narrative by lunchtime. Noah's heartbeat was so loud he couldn't tell if it was his or the bike's. Ray leaned in, barely moving his lips. "Don't say anything you don't have to. Keep it simple." Noah swallowed. Then he did the only thing that didn't feel like surrender. He stepped off the porch, one step then another, but he didn't walk to Pike. He walked toward the shop. Pike's voice snapped. "Where do you think you're going?" Noah didn't turn around. "To my uncle's property," he said, trying to keep his voice steady. "You want to talk? Talk here." Pike started forward, then stopped when he saw Cole shift one foot. Subtle, not aggressive, but enough to make Pike remember there were a lot of witnesses. Pike's deputies tightened into little statues, hands hovering, eyes flicking over the wall of bikes. Noah reached the shop door, pulled it open, and stepped inside. Ray followed immediately. The air inside smelled like oil and old rubber, familiar enough that Noah could breathe again. Cole didn't follow in. He stayed outside on the gravel where the deputies could see his hands, where Pike couldn't later claim he stormed private property. Smart. Pike marched up to the threshold like the doorway was a line in a war. "This is a place of business," Pike said. "You open right now?" Ray said. "We're not open." Pike's eyes slid over the shop. The single bay, the scattered tools, the parts shelves, the old computer on the desk that froze twice a day. Then his gaze landed on the inspection stickers and the license placard hanging near the register like a fragile shield. "Funny," Pike said, "because I'm looking at a business that should have been shut down last year." Ray's nostrils flared. "We passed inspection." Pike's grin widened by a millimeter. "You passed because I let you. You think you're entitled to keep running just because you're barely scraping by?" Noah felt something hot crawl up his neck. Ray's hand came up, warning him to stay quiet. Pike's eyes locked on Noah. "What did you do last night?" "I patched a tire," Noah said. "Whose tire?" "A rider's," Noah said, "stranded on Route 12. Pike's gaze flicked to the shop sign through the open bay door. "And you just happened to help an Iron Hawk?" Noah kept his face neutral. He was a person with a blown tire. Pike leaned in slightly, voice lowering into something meant to feel private. "You know what happens to shops that get tied up with outlaw groups?" Ray snapped. "Don't," Pike cut him off with a look. "I can have your permits reviewed. I can have OSHA sniff around. I can have fire code out here by noon. And if I find one violation, this place is done." Noah's mouth went dry. He'd grown up hearing that threat without hearing it said out loud. It was always implied, like weather. Pike continued, soft as a knife. "So you're going to tell me what they asked you for. And you're going to do it now." Noah forced his hands to unclench. "They haven't asked me for anything." Pike's eyes narrowed. "Don't play stupid." A faint click came from outside, the unmistakable sound of a phone camera starting to record. Pike's head jerked toward the door. A young hawk stood 20 feet away with a phone held chest high, not shoving it in anyone's face, just documenting. Pike's jaw tightened. He hated witnesses. Cole's voice carried from outside, calm and audible. "Sheriff Pike, for everyone's clarity, are you threatening to close this business unless Noah answers questions?" Pike's head snapped. "This is an active situation." Cole said, "Answer the question." The neighbors had started drifting closer, keeping distance, peeking from behind mailboxes and porch rails. And now the deputies, some of them, were looking at Pike differently, like they were hearing what Noah's town had been trained not to notice. Pike's face hardened. "I'm not threatening anything," he said loudly. "I'm enforcing the law." Cole replied, "Then enforce it properly. Ask questions without coercion. This kid has a guardian present." Ray's voice came out tight. "Noah doesn't answer without me." Pike stared at Ray, then at Noah, and Noah saw it. Pike didn't care about the truth. He cared about control, about sending a message to anyone who thought they could exist in his town without permission. Noah's eyes flicked to the desk, to the drawer where Ray kept paperwork. In that drawer, Noah knew it, were copies of permits, the inspection report, the receipts, the thin evidence of survival. Pike followed Noah's glance and smiled again. "You nervous about your paperwork, Noah?" Noah forced himself to look back at Pike. "I'm nervous about you making things up." The temperature in the room dropped. Ray inhaled sharply like he was about to yank Noah backward by the collar. Pike's smile vanished. "Careful." Outside, engines continued to idle, patient and steady. Not revving, not showing off, just waiting. Cole's voice stayed level. "Sheriff, if you have probable cause, present it. If you don't, you're harassing a family business." Pike stepped into the doorway and raised his voice for everyone. "Probable cause," he echoed. "Here's probable cause. 500 motorcycles parked outside a shop that barely pays taxes." Cole didn't bite. "That's not probable cause. That's optics. And optics don't justify intimidation." Pike's gaze slid to Noah again, colder now. "Here's what's going to happen," he said. "You're going to tell them to leave. Then you're going to come down to the station later today and give a statement. If you don't, we start inspections. We start audits. We start asking why a 17-year-old is out on Route 12 at midnight," Ray said. "He works for me." Pike's eyes glittered. "Oh, I know. And I know about the cash jobs you take when folks can't afford receipts." Ray's face flashed, shock, then rage. Noah's pulse hammered. Pike wasn't guessing. He was reciting. He'd been watching them for a long time. Cole said from outside, "You're admitting you've been surveilling this family." Pike snapped, "Shut up!" Then, from the front line of bikes, a voice Noah recognized cut through the air, low, rough, and angry in a way that didn't need volume. "That's enough." Duke limped into view, moving past the rows with that stiff left leg like it didn't matter. When he reached Cole, he stopped, jaw tight. Cole didn't look surprised to see him. He just turned his head slightly as if allowing Duke to speak. Duke's eyes locked on Pike. "Kid patched my tire," Duke said, loud enough for everyone. "He didn't ask for my name, didn't ask for anything. He refused payment." Pike's lips curled. "And you want a medal for letting him live?" Duke's expression didn't change, but the muscles in his neck flexed. "I want you to stop threatening him." Pike laughed once, sharp and ugly. "You don't get to tell me what to do in my county." Duke took one step closer, slow, controlled. "Then do your job." Pike's deputies shifted. One of them, older, tired eyes, looked from Pike to Duke to the phone recording and swallowed like he wished he was anywhere else. Cole raised his voice slightly, still calm. "Sheriff Pike, we're leaving soon. But before we do, we're going to make something clear on record. Noah Carter performed a roadside repair. That's it. If any retaliation comes to his shop for that, permits, inspections, harassment, people will ask why." Pike's face reddened. "People?" Cole glanced at the line of bikes, then at the neighbors, then at the phones. "The public." Pike's eyes flicked to Noah with something close to promise. "You just made yourself a problem," he said. And in that exact moment, Noah's own phone buzzed again, harder, non-stop, like a panic alarm. He looked down. A new text from an unknown number. 2 words, all caps, "Stop talking." Noah's blood went cold because the message wasn't from Duke. Noah didn't show the text to anyone at first. "Stop talking." 2 words, no punctuation, no explanation. Like the sender didn't care if Noah understood, only that he obeyed. The number was local. That made it worse. It meant whoever sent it wasn't some random watcher online. They were close enough to have his phone number, close enough to be real. Ray saw Noah's face change. "What is it?" Noah shoved the phone back into his pocket. "Nothing." Ray's eyebrows lifted like he didn't believe him, but he didn't push, not with Pike in the doorway and a street full of engines. Cole's voice carried again, steady, clear. "Sheriff Pike, we're going to speak with Noah for a few minutes, then we'll clear the road. You'll have no excuse to escalate." Pike's eyes narrowed. "Speak where?" Cole nodded toward the shopyard. "Right there, in the open, where your deputies can see our hands, where the neighbors can see there's no intimidation." Pike's smile returned, thin as fishing line. "And if I say no?" Cole didn't react. "Then you'll be on camera refusing a minor the right to speak to people without coercion. Your choice." For a second, Pike looked like he might explode. Then he tipped his head toward one deputy. "Fine," he said, "but I'm staying. And they're leaving when I say." Cole's tone didn't change. "We're leaving when we're done." Pike snapped his jaw shut and stepped back off the threshold like he was granting permission, not losing a grip. Noah and Ray walked out together. The morning had brightened just enough to show faces in windows, phones held up behind curtains. A few neighbors stood on porches now, pretending they were just checking the mail, even though their hands were shaking around their devices. Cole stopped at the edge of the gravel. Duke stood a few feet behind him, weight off his bad leg. A younger hawk, clean-cut, quiet, stayed to Cole's right with a small notebook. Not a weapon, not a threat, a record. Cole looked at Noah first, not Ray. "You did a good thing last night." Noah tried to keep his voice neutral. "I fixed a tire." Cole nodded like he accepted the correction. "Duke told me you found nails." Noah's stomach tightened. Ray's head snapped toward Noah. "You found nails?" Noah's throat went dry. Ray had told him to keep it simple. "Stop talking," burned in his pocket like a warning. Cole watched Noah's hesitation, and something in his eyes sharpened. Not aggressive, just alert. "You don't have to answer if you feel unsafe," he said. "But if there were nails, we need to know." Sheriff Pike, standing near his cruiser, called out, "This is what I'm talking about. They're recruiting him into their nonsense." Cole didn't look at Pike. He looked at Noah. "We've had 6 incidents in 3 weeks, Cole said, voice low enough that it felt private without being secret. "Rear tire failures, clean punctures, always on the same stretch, too consistent to be chance." Noah's gaze flicked down the road. Route 12 cut past Mill Road like a vein. He imagined it at night, dark shoulder, no streetlights, nails waiting like teeth. Ray muttered, "6?" Duke spoke for the first time since the text hit Noah's phone. "One of ours went down hard last week, broke his collarbone. Another guy lost 2 fingers, same kind of puncture." "Same kind of nail." Noah felt his mouth go numb. "Roofing nails," he said before he could stop himself. Ray stared at him. "Noah!" "Stop talking." Noah's tongue stuck to the roof of his mouth. He forced himself to keep going anyway, because now he saw the shape of it. Not random, not bad luck. Cole's eyes didn't blink. "Roofing nails," he repeated. "You sure?" Noah nodded once. "Long, thin, galvanized, not like the short ones people drop. The hole in his tube was clean." Duke's jaw tightened like he'd been waiting to hear that exact word. "Clean." Ray exhaled through his nose. "That's not a blowout." "No," Noah said. "It's a puncture that turns into a blowout if you don't catch it in time." Pike called again, louder now. "You done? Road's blocked. Time to clear out." Cole ignored him. "Noah," he said, "you said tube. That bike has tubeless tires." Noah blinked, then realized the trap in his own words. His heart thumped. I said tube because I—" Duke cut in, calm but firm. "He didn't mean tube. He patched it like a tube. He was working fast on the shoulder." Cole watched Noah carefully. "Did you actually patch it?" he asked. "Or plug it?" Noah swallowed. "Plug," he admitted. "It was a tubeless tire. I used a plug." Cole nodded once, satisfied, not judging, verifying. Ray leaned closer to Noah, voice tight. "You should have told me about the nails." Noah's eyes flicked toward Pike and the deputies. "I didn't want this." Cole's gaze followed Noah's glance. "You got the nails?" Noah's pocket felt like it weighed 100 pounds. "Yeah." Cole held out his hand, not demanding, just offering. "Can I see them?" "Stop talking." Noah hesitated one beat too long. Duke leaned in slightly, voice low. "Kid, look at me." Noah looked up. Duke's eyes were steady, not cold now, focused. "That text you got, Duke said quietly, almost like he already knew. It wasn't from us. Noah's blood turned to ice. How? Duke's jaw flexed. Because we don't hide behind numbers. And because somebody else wants you quiet. Noah's fingers curled around the nails in his pocket. His heart hammered hard enough to make his vision pulse. Ray whispered, "Text?" Noah pulled his phone out, screen facing Ray for half a second. Ray's face changed instantly, from anger to fear. Cole didn't ask to see the phone. He didn't need to. He simply nodded, like the last piece clicked in. "Okay," Cole said. "Then we do this clean." He gestured gently. "Noah, show me the nails. Not as evidence for the sheriff, as evidence for us. We're not giving Pike anything he can twist." Pike shouted, "I heard that. You're withholding evidence." Cole turned his head just enough to address Pike without moving closer. "It's not your case unless you open one. You haven't. All you've done is threaten a family business." Pike's face flushed. He strode forward 2 steps, boots crunching gravel. "You think you're clever? I can get a warrant." "For what?" Cole asked, still calm. "A roofing nail?" Pike's lips peeled back. "For obstructing, for aiding, for—" "Sheriff," Ray blurted, voice rough. "This is my shop. You want a warrant? Go get one." Pike froze, surprised that Ray had found a spine. Noah did it fast before he could lose the nerve. He pulled the nails out and placed them in Cole's open palm. They looked smaller in daylight, more ordinary, which made them more terrifying, because ordinary meant easy. Cole didn't pocket them. He held them up at chest height where the cameras from porches could see. Then he lowered them and handed them to the younger hawk with the notebook. "Photograph," Cole said. "Bag, mark location and time." The younger hawk nodded and did exactly that with practice speed. Gloves on, evidence bag out, notes written. Not biker chaos, procedure. Pike saw it and his expression changed. He didn't like procedure. He didn't control. Duke's voice dropped. "Now you understand why we're here at dawn." Noah's stomach nodded. "Why does it matter to you so much?" Duke's gaze went distant for a second, like he was looking at asphalt and blood that wasn't here. "Because it's not just us," he said. "It's everyone who drives that road. Families, kids, people who don't have 500 friends on bikes." Cole looked at Noah. "We think someone is planning debris to force breakdowns," he said, "and we think the ones profiting are close. Local." Noah felt Ray stiffen beside him. Cole continued. "We don't need you to be one of us. We need you to be what you already are, someone who notices what others miss." Pike snapped, "This is intimidation, all of it." Cole finally turned fully toward Pike. "No," he said, "this is accountability, and you're nervous because you don't know who's watching." Noah's phone buzzed again in his pocket. He didn't want to look. He looked anyway. A picture this time. A photo of Carter Auto, taken from across the street right now. And beneath it, one line. "We're already here." Noah's thumb hovered over the photo like the screen could bite him. Carter Auto, the crooked sign, the cracked window on the office door, the same angle a neighbor would have if they stood across Mill Road, except the shot was too clean, too centered, like the person who took it wasn't hiding, like they wanted Noah to know they weren't scared. "We're already here." Noah's throat tightened so hard it hurt. He looked up, scanning porches and cars and the foggy edge of the street. Everyone looked like everyone. That was the point. Ray's voice came out low and tight. "Who's texting you?" Noah didn't answer. He couldn't. Not with Pike's deputies close enough to read lips, not with phones recording from curtains. Cole noticed Noah's face, noticed the way his eyes started searching. He didn't ask to see the phone. He just shifted his stance a few inches, blocking Noah from Pike's line of sight without making it obvious. Duke leaned in, barely moving his mouth. "Don't show that to the sheriff." Noah swallowed. "They're across the street." Duke's gaze flicked left, right, then settled in a way that made Noah's skin prickle. "Yeah," Duke muttered. "I know." Cole spoke just loud enough for Noah and Ray. "We clear the road now," he said. But not because he told us to. Pike was still fuming at the edge of the yard. "You heard me," he barked. "Get them out of here." Cole turned his head toward Pike, calm like a judge. "We're leaving," he said. "And if you retaliate against this shop today, the whole county will see why." Pike's lip curled. "You think you're untouchable." Cole didn't answer that. He just raised a hand. 2 fingers, and the line of bikes responded like a single organism. Engines shut off in waves, riders lifted stands, helmets went on. The sound didn't fade like a crowd leaving. It tightened into a controlled departure. Neighbors watched with their phones half raised, confused because nothing about it looked like a threat anymore. It looked like a procession, and that made it scarier. Duke didn't move with the first group. He stayed. So did 3 others, older men, quiet, without the twitchy energy of people looking for trouble. Pike noticed and stepped forward. "All of you go." Cole's eyes stayed level. 4 of us remain to walk and talk for 60 seconds, on foot, on private property. Then we leave. Pike's jaw worked. He glanced at the phones and windows and swallowed his pride hard enough for Noah to see it. "Fine," he spat. 60 seconds. Cole nodded once, like Pike had agreed to the laws of gravity. Then he turned slightly, angling his body so Noah, Ray, and Duke were shielded from the street. "Noah," Cole said softly, "you said that nail was a roofing nail, galvanized, long." Noah nodded. Cole continued, "That kind of nail doesn't get spilled by accident often. It gets carried in bulk. Boxes, buckets, contractors." Ray muttered, "Plenty of those around here." Duke's jaw tightened. "Not all of them run Route 12 at night." Noah's mind snapped to something he hadn't wanted to admit. "Tow trucks," he said. Ray looked at him sharply. "What?" Noah forced the words out. "A tow truck passed us last night. Slow, like he was watching." Cole's expression didn't change, but his eyes sharpened. "Company name?" Noah shook his head. "Too dark. I only saw the driver's face." Duke's voice dropped. "Describe." Noah did. "White guy, beard, baseball cap. He didn't stop. He just looked." Ray exhaled like he'd been punched. "Harlan's cousin drives for Pike's Towing." Noah stared. "Pike's Towing?" Ray's mouth tightened. "He doesn't advertise it, but everybody knows. Pike's brother-in-law runs the yard. They've had the county contract for years." Noah felt the pieces click so hard it was almost loud. Nails on Route 12, breakdowns, tow trucks arriving fast, shops like Carter Auto getting squeezed while towing yards get fed. Cole didn't say exactly. He didn't need to. He simply asked, "Where do those roofing nails come from in this town?" Noah's brain started flipping through memory like a parts catalog. Roofing supply, hardware stores, contractors. Then something surfaced. The only supplier that stocked that exact long galvanized type in bulk. Ray had sent Noah there twice for shop repairs. "Noah?" Ray asked, reading his face. Noah swallowed. "Harrington Supply." Ray's eyes narrowed. "They sell to half the county." "Yeah," Noah said. "But they're the only place that keeps those nails in the big contractor buckets, the exact ones. I remember because I dropped one and it stabbed through my shoe." Cole nodded once, like that was enough. "We'll verify." Duke shifted his weight, face tightening with pain. He reached into his vest and pulled out a small folded paper. Not money, not a bill, a business card. He held it out to Noah. On it was a simple phone number, no logo, just ink. "Call that if anything feels wrong," Duke said. "Not the sheriff, not your friends." "That number," Noah stared at the card. "Who is it?" Duke's eyes didn't blink. "Someone who answers." Ray's voice came tight. "We don't want trouble," Cole said. "Then don't let trouble pick you." Pike's voice cut in from the yard edge. "Time." Cole lifted his chin. "Last thing," he told Noah. "Those texts, don't reply, don't block, don't show Pike, save everything." Noah nodded, pulse hammering. Duke leaned closer and the words came out like a warning wrapped in respect. "You did a good thing last night," he said. "But somebody else saw it as a problem." Then Duke stepped back, swung onto his bike carefully, and his eyes locked on Noah one more time. "If you want to stay alive," he said, "don't be brave in the wrong direction." Cole raised 2 fingers again. The last remaining hawks started their engines. One by one they rolled out, controlled, silent, except for the low rumble that sank into Noah's chest. As the final bike disappeared down Mill Road, the street suddenly felt naked. Sheriff Pike waited until the last taillight was gone. Then he walked straight into the yard like he owned it again. His deputies followed. Pike's voice dropped, just for Noah and Ray. "Now," he said, "we can have our conversation without your little audience?" Ray's fists clenched. "We're done talking." Pike's eyes flicked to the shop sign. then to Noah's pocket, like he somehow knew about the phone. "You're not," he said. "Not even close." He nodded toward the road. A tow truck was turning onto Mill Road. Slow, deliberate, white cab, blue lettering, and the driver wore a baseball cap. Noah's phone buzzed again. One new message: "Towing's here to collect." The tow truck crawled down Mill Road like it was on a parade route, not rushing, not searching, just arriving, slow enough that everyone on every porch could see the blue lettering on the door: Pike's Towing and Recovery. The driver's cap brim stayed low, but Noah recognized the beard. Recognized the way the man's eyes cut straight to Carter Auto and didn't blink. Sheriff Pike watched it like a king watching his own flag roll into enemy ground. Ray stepped forward. "Why's your tow truck here?" Pike didn't answer at first. He just tilted his head like Ray had asked something stupid. "Because I got a call," Pike said finally. "Anonymous, about illegal activity." Noah felt his heartbeat slam behind his ribs. The text in his pocket, "Towing's here to collect," wasn't a prediction. It was a schedule. Ray's voice went sharp. "Illegal activity? At 5 in the morning?" Pike's smile twitched. "That's when criminals work." Ray took a step closer, and Noah saw the line in Ray's neck stand out. "This is harassment." Pike leaned in just enough that only Ray and Noah would hear. "This is me protecting my town from your nephew making friends." Noah couldn't stay silent anymore. "I patched a tire." Pike's eyes snapped to Noah. "You did more than that. You put yourself in their pocket, and now you're going to learn what that costs." Behind Pike, the tow truck rolled to a stop right at the edge of the gravel. The driver hopped down without urgency and walked over with a clipboard like he was showing up to pick up groceries. He didn't look at Ray. He looked past Ray, through the open bay door, eyes scanning the shop like he already had a list. Pike's voice carried, loud enough for the neighbors. "Fire marshal's coming later. County inspector, too. We're doing a full review. If anything in this shop isn't by the book, anything, you're shut down." Ray's face went pale. Not because the shop was some secret criminal operation, because small shops didn't survive on perfect paperwork. They survived on making rent, on fixing cars for cash when people couldn't afford invoices, on bending without breaking. Noah felt it like a punch. Pike didn't need to find a violation. He could create one. He could bury them in process until the doors never opened again. Ray's voice dropped. "You're doing this because of those bikes," Pike's grin returned. "I'm doing this because you're out of control." Noah's phone buzzed again. He didn't pull it out. He didn't need to. He could feel the message sitting there like a blade. Ray spoke through his teeth. "Get off my property." Pike didn't move. "You'll let my men inspect what I tell them to inspect." Ray said, "No warrant." Pike's eyes hardened. "You want to play that game? Fine, I can wait. I can get a judge out of bed. And while I'm waiting, I can park that tow truck right out front and write your customers down as they come and go. I can make sure nobody wants to be seen here." He stepped back and raised his voice again. "Noah Carter, you're coming to the station today, 10 a.m. You'll give a statement about what you saw on Route 12. Noah's stomach turned. "I didn't see anything." Pike's smile turned cruel. "Sure you did. And you're going to tell me who else was there?" Ray snapped. "No." Pike's eyes flicked to Ray, then back to Noah. "Fine. Then I'll talk to him at school." Noah froze. Ray's mouth opened like he couldn't believe Pike would say it out loud in front of witnesses. Pike did. He wanted the witnesses. He wanted Noah's world to shrink. "I'll walk right into that campus," Pike said, loud and clean, "and I'll ask questions in front of teachers, in front of friends. I'll make sure everybody knows what kind of people you've been with, Noah." Noah felt something twist inside him. Fear, yes, but also anger so sharp it tasted metallic. Pike wasn't just threatening a shop. He was threatening Noah's future. Because Noah had one thing going for him: school. A technical scholarship application, a chance to get out of Mill Road without crawling. Pike knew that. The tow driver stepped closer, finally addressing Ray with a bored tone. "Sheriff says you got unlicensed work going on here. We need to see your records." Ray's voice came out raw. "We're a licensed shop." "Then prove it," the tow driver said. Pike lifted a hand like he was calming the situation, but it was theater. Ray, don't make this harder than it has to be." Noah couldn't breathe right. The neighbors were still watching, phones still up, but none of them stepped in. None of them ever did. They lived under Pike the same way they lived under bad weather, complaining quietly, praying it didn't hit their roof next. Ray's hands shook as he reached into his pocket for keys, then stopped. He looked at Noah, and Noah saw the war behind his eyes. Protect the kid or protect the shop that fed the kid. Noah's phone buzzed again, rapid, like someone was tapping it from the other end. He pulled it out just enough to see the screen. A new message. Your school's next. Noah's blood ran cold because the sender wasn't talking about rumors. They were promising a scene. Noah shoved the phone away and stepped forward before Ray could. "Sheriff," Noah said, voice louder than he expected. "Don't go to my school." Pike's eyes narrowed. "Then come talk like a grown man." Noah swallowed. Every instinct screamed not to give Pike control. Duke's warning echoed, "Don't be brave in the wrong direction." But Noah also understood something new. Staying silent wasn't safety. It was permission. "Noah," Ray hissed, "don't." Noah didn't look back. He kept his eyes on Pike. 10 a.m., Noah said. "I'll be there." Pike's smile widened. Victory. Then Noah added, "With my uncle, and with a lawyer." The air snapped. Pike's smile faltered for the first time. "You can't afford a lawyer." Noah's mouth was dry, but his voice stayed steady. "We'll find one." Pike leaned in, voice low again, meant to pierce. "That's cute, but you don't understand. I'm not asking." Noah met his eyes. "Then stop pretending this is about the law." For a second, Pike's face went still, like he was deciding whether to do something he couldn't take back. Then he turned his head toward the tow driver. "Start the paperwork." "We'll be back." The tow driver nodded like he'd been waiting for the cue. Pike took one step away, then stopped and looked over his shoulder at Noah. "Oh," he said, almost casual. "Tell your biker friends. If they come back here again, I'll make sure you're the one who pays for it." Pike walked to his cruiser. The deputies followed. The tow truck stayed. Ray exhaled, shaky. "What did you just do?" Noah's throat tightened. "I bought us time." Ray stared at the tow truck, then at the shop, like he was seeing the end of their life coming down the road. Across the street, a neighbor's curtain shifted. A phone camera glinted, and Noah's own phone buzzed again. This time it wasn't a threat. It was a short message from a number he didn't recognize, the one on Duke's card. One line, "Do not go to the station." Noah read the message again like the words might change. "Do not go to the station." It was from the number on Duke's card. The one Duke said, "Someone answers." Ray leaned in. "Who's that?" Noah kept the phone angled away from the street. "The number Duke gave me." Ray's eyes narrowed. "Why would they tell you not to go?" Noah swallowed. Because the station wasn't a conversation. It was a trap, a room with no cameras except Pike's, a place where words got rewritten and signatures got forced. The tow truck driver was still out front, leaning against the cab, clipboard in hand, acting like he had all day. A deputy cruiser idled at the corner like a reminder. Noah slid his phone into his pocket and forced himself to breathe. "We can't go," he said. Ray's jaw flexed. "You told Pike 10. "I know," Noah said. "I did that to stop him from going to my school." Ray stared at him. "And now you want to break your own promise." Noah's voice came out tight. "It wasn't a promise. It was bait." Ray's eyes flicked to the tow truck, then back. "So what, you're just going to disappear?" Noah shook his head. "No, we're going to move first." Ray opened his mouth, then shut it. Because he understood exactly what Noah meant. In this town, you didn't win by being right. You won by not letting Pike choose the field. Noah pulled his phone out again and typed with his thumbs shaking, "Where do I go?" The reply came fast, like someone was already staring at the screen. "Not your house, not school, not station. Go to the only place Pike can't walk in and own the room. Send location when you're moving." Noah stared at it. "What does that even mean?" Ray's voice was low. A public place. Noah's brain snapped to the one spot in town that had cameras everywhere and too many witnesses to bully without consequences. "Harrington Supply," Noah said. "They've got a front counter, security cams, customers. And it ties to the nails." Ray's eyes narrowed, surprised. "That's actually not stupid." Noah's phone buzzed again before he could type. Yes, Harrington, you're not going to buy nails. You're going to watch who panics. Noah felt his stomach drop. This wasn't just about hiding. It was about forcing whoever was texting him, whoever was watching, to react. Ray's voice turned rough. Noah, this is getting bigger. Noah glanced at the shop. Their whole life was in there. One bay, one lift that groaned, one sign that flickered. Pike could crush it whenever he felt like it. It's already big, Noah said. He stuffed the nails into a small zip bag from the desk drawer, kept his fingerprints off them as best he could. Then he grabbed the scholarship folder off the kitchen table without thinking, like it was a talisman. He shoved it in his backpack. Ray watched him. Why the folder? Noah didn't look up. Because if they take everything else, I still want this. Ray's throat worked. He nodded once. They didn't leave out the front. Ray cut through the back lot behind the shop, past the scrap pile and the oil drums, to the narrow gravel lane that connected to a side street. Noah followed, shoulders tight, eyes scanning for any car that didn't belong. The rumble of the tow truck stayed behind them like a heartbeat. Noah texted the number again. Moving now. Back lane. Reply came instantly. Do not drive straight there. Make 2 turns. If you're followed, do not lose them. Let them think they're winning. Noah stared at that line. If we're followed, don't lose them? Ray read it over his shoulder and swore under his breath. That's insane. Noah's voice came out thin. Or it's the only way to find out who it is. Ray slid into the driver's seat of the pickup. Noah climbed in and slammed the door. The cab smelled like old grease and fast food wrappers and the faint metallic edge of fear. Ray started the engine. As they rolled down the back lane, Noah looked in the mirror. At first, nothing. Then, at the end of the lane, a dark SUV eased into view and stopped, just far enough back to pretend it was coincidence. Noah's throat tightened. We've got company. Ray's hands tightened on the wheel. You sure? The SUV's headlights stayed off in the morning light. The driver didn't honk, didn't wave, just sat there for 3 seconds. Then it started rolling. Following. Noah's phone buzzed again. Confirmed. 2 turns. Normal speed. Go. Ray made the first turn onto a residential street, casual, like they were just running errands. The SUV followed the same turn, clean and smooth. Noah felt his pulse in his ears. They're not even trying to hide. Because they don't have to, Ray muttered. Ray made the second turn onto a busier road where morning traffic had started to build. Parents in SUVs, work trucks, commuters. The SUV stayed behind them, 3 car lengths back, perfectly placed. Noah typed fast. Followed. Dark SUV. Reply. Don't look back again. Go to Harrington. Park where cameras see both lots. Do not walk in together. Noah goes in first. Ray stays out and watches the SUV. Noah's stomach twisted, split up. That's how people got grabbed. Ray must have seen the message because his face hardened. No. Noah looked at him. If we go in together, they'll sit in the lot and wait. If I go in alone, they have to choose. Follow me inside or risk being seen. Ray's jaw worked. You're 17, Noah's voice cracked, and Pike's coming to my school. Ray didn't answer. He just drove. Harrington Supply came into view, a wide metal building with a big sign, a contractor yard behind a chain-link fence, pallets stacked, forklifts humming. The front lot was busy. Good. Witnesses. Ray pulled into the lot and parked where the cameras on the corner of the building would catch the truck in the entrance. The SUV rolled in behind them and parked 2 rows away. Noah's palms went slick. Ray kept his eyes forward, voice low. You sure you want to do this? Noah looked at the front doors, people going in and out, receipts in hands, workers in safety vests, a place where violence would be loud. He nodded. I have to. Noah pushed the door open and stepped out. He didn't run. He didn't hesitate. He walked like he belonged there. As he crossed the lot, he felt the SUV's presence like a laser on the back of his neck. He reached the glass doors, and behind him he heard a car door open, not a slam, controlled, deliberate. He didn't turn around. He stepped inside Harrington Supply into the fluorescent light and the smell of lumber and metal and coffee. He walked up to the counter like he was there for a part. The cashier, a bored woman with a ponytail, looked up. Morning. What can I do for you? Noah swallowed, eyes flicking to the security camera dome above the register. Then, the glass doors behind him opened again. A shadow crossed the floor, and a voice he didn't recognize said, close and quiet, "Kid, you really should have stayed off Route 12. Noah didn't move. He kept his hands on the counter edge like he was just another kid buying shop supplies. Fluorescent light buzzed overhead. The cashier's eyes flicked past Noah's shoulder, caught whatever was behind him, and her bored expression tightened into polite caution. Noah forced his voice steady. "I'm just here for—" "Don't," the man behind him said. Quiet, close, like he didn't need to raise it because Noah was already trapped in a room full of people who wouldn't understand what was happening until it was over. Noah felt the heat of the man's presence at his back. Not a biker, not one of Pike's deputies. This felt private, like the kind of threat that didn't need a badge or a patch. Noah didn't turn around. He looked up at the security dome above the register, then at the second camera in the corner, angled toward the doors. The cashier swallowed. "Sir, can I help you?" she asked, aiming her voice toward the shadow behind Noah. The man chuckled once. "I'm helping him." Noah's phone buzzed in his pocket. He didn't reach for it. Not yet. The man's voice dropped lower. "You think this place makes you safe? Cameras don't stop accidents, they just record them." Noah finally turned his head slightly, not enough to look scared, just enough to see. Mid-30s, work jacket, clean boots. A ball cap pulled low like the tow driver's, but this one wasn't a tow uniform. His eyes were sharp, calm, like he'd done this kind of conversation before. "What do you want?" Noah asked. The man smiled as if Noah had asked the wrong question. "What I want is for you to forget what you saw, forget what you found, forget those nails." Noah held his face neutral. "I don't know what you're talking about." The man's smile didn't change. "You do, and your uncle does." Noah's chest tightened. Ray was outside, watching the SUV. If this guy did something in here, Ray would see, but he couldn't stop it fast enough. Noah's phone buzzed again. He forced himself to slide it out, thumb only, keeping it low by his thigh where the cameras wouldn't show the screen clearly. A message from the number on Duke's card. "Do not engage." Ask for a manager. Say, "I need help with a bulk roofing nail return." Loud enough for cameras. Do it now. Noah's heart thumped. Bulk roofing nail return. It sounded harmless. It sounded like a normal reason to be here, but it also said the exact words that mattered. Noah lifted his chin toward the cashier. "Hey," he said, louder now, letting his voice carry. "I need help with a bulk roofing nail return. Can I speak to a manager?" The man behind him went still, just for a beat, like the word return had pricked him. The cashier blinked, then nodded fast, relieved to have a normal script. Yeah, one sec." She hit a button under the counter. Noah heard a faint beep from somewhere in the back. The man's smile flattened. "That's cute," he murmured. "You think saying it out loud changes anything?" Noah kept his voice steady, still loud enough to be heard. "I'm returning nails," he repeated, eyes on the camera dome. "The kind that got stuck in my tire on Route 12. The man's jaw tightened. There it was, the reaction. Not anger, not surprise, recognition. "Watch your mouth," the man said, still calm. But the calm had edges now. Noah swallowed. "Why? Because someone here sold them to the wrong person?" The man leaned a fraction closer. Noah could smell coffee and something chemical, like fresh adhesive or solvent. "Because you're a kid," the man said, "and kids get hurt when they play grown man games." The glass doors opened behind them. Someone walked in dragging a cart. Two contractors in neon vests laughed about something. Life continued, and that seemed to frustrate the man more than anything. Noah's phone buzzed again. Another message. "The SUV is moving. Don't leave the counter." Noah's eyes flicked through the window reflection. He couldn't see the lot from this angle, but Ray could. Then, from the back, a door opened. A heavy-set man in a Harrington polo emerged, wiping his hands on a rag. He had manager energy, tired eyes, no patience for nonsense, but very aware of cameras. "What's going on?" the manager asked, looking between Noah and the stranger behind him. Noah didn't hesitate. I need to return a bulk bucket of galvanized roofing nails, he said, clear and controlled, because I found them on Route 12 where someone's been getting tires punctured. The manager's expression shifted from annoyance to calculation. He looked up at the cameras, then back at the stranger. The stranger smiled like he owned the room. He's confused, the stranger said. Kids making stories. Noah's phone buzzed again. New message. He's not alone. Look left. Aisle 3. Noah's eyes slid left. A second man stood near aisle 3 pretending to read labels. Work jacket, same posture, same calm, hands in pockets, a third presence. Noah's throat tightened. This was coordinated. The stranger behind him spoke softly, only for Noah now. You want to do this in front of these people? Fine. He raised his voice, turning to the manager. Listen, man, the kid's got a family shop. He's stressed. My buddy and I are just trying to talk sense into him. The manager's eyes narrowed. Talk sense into him how? The stranger's smile held. By telling him not to run his mouth. The cashier's eyes widened. The contractors nearby stopped laughing. Noah felt the room's attention tilt. Not fully. Not yet. But enough. The manager straightened. Sir, you're going to step away from my counter. The stranger didn't move. Or what? The manager's gaze flicked to the camera, then back. Or I call the cops. Noah's stomach dropped. The cops meant Pike. Pike meant the station. The station meant the trap. Noah's phone buzzed. One line. If Pike shows, you lose control. Noah spoke fast before the manager could pick up the phone. Don't call the sheriff, Noah said, loud enough for everyone. Call State Highway Patrol, or call corporate, or call anyone but Pike. The manager frowned. Why? Noah's mouth went dry, but he forced it out. Because Pike's towing is tied to this, and somebody already threatened my school. The room shifted again. Contractors exchanged looks. The cashier swallowed hard. Even the manager's hand paused mid-motion. The stranger's eyes went cold. You're making a serious accusation. Noah met his gaze. So are you. The man in aisle 3 took one step forward, and at the same time, the front doors opened again. Fast. Ray stepped in, breath hard, eyes locked on Noah. He didn't look at the cashier. He didn't look at the manager. He stared through the stranger like he could see the shape of the whole thing. Ray's voice cut clean through the store. Noah, don't move. The stranger's smile returned, but it was thinner now. Uncle Ray, he said, like he'd been waiting to say the name out loud. Ray's hands were empty, but his posture was different, ready. Who are you? The stranger tipped his cap slightly. Just somebody trying to keep your nephew alive. Noah's phone buzzed again. A final message from Duke's number. Now, look outside. Noah's eyes snapped to the glass. In the lot, the dark SUV had repositioned, blocking the lane behind Ray's truck. And next to it, parked like it belonged there, was Pike's tow truck. But the driver wasn't in the cab anymore. He was walking toward the doors, with Sheriff Pike right beside him. The moment Noah saw Pike in the parking lot, he understood the move. This wasn't about investigating. It was about taking control of the room, turning Harrington Supply into Pike's stage the same way he'd tried to turn Carter Auto into one. Pike didn't need a warrant to poison a crowd. He just needed a badge and the confidence to use it like a weapon. The stranger behind Noah leaned closer, voice like a whisper pressed against his ear. See? I told you. Cameras don't stop anything. They just make you famous when you mess up. Ray's eyes stayed locked on the doors. Noah, he said again, low. Don't move. The manager glanced toward the entrance and swore under his breath. Sheriff? He muttered, like he already regretted being awake. Noah's phone buzzed one more time in his pocket. Duke's number. Do not let Pike question you here. He will force a statement on camera. Move to the back aisle now. Ask for the receiving bay. Noah's heart pounded. Back aisle meant away from Pike's microphone and toward Harrington's loading area, where forklifts and pallets and noisy chaos could drown words, where Pike couldn't corner a kid in front of customers and call it voluntary. Noah lifted his voice just enough for the manager. Sir, Noah said, can we talk somewhere private, like your receiving bay? I don't feel safe with them here. The manager hesitated, then his eyes flicked to the cameras and to Pike's badge through the glass. He made a decision fast, the way people do when they realize the wrong authority just walked in. Yeah, the manager said. This way. Move. He pointed down a side corridor marked Employees Only. The stranger behind Noah shifted, blocking the path for a half-second. You're not going anywhere, the stranger murmured. Noah didn't flinch. He raised his voice so the cashier, the contractors, everyone could hear. I'm a minor, Noah said, clear and steady. I'm asking to move to the receiving bay because I'm being threatened. If anyone touches me, it's on camera. The stranger's jaw tightened. His eyes flicked up to the camera dome like he'd forgotten it existed for one dangerous second. The manager's hand came up, palm out. Sir, the manager said to the stranger, step back, now. The man in aisle 3 took another step forward. Ray shifted slightly, placing himself between Noah and the aisle 3 man without moving like a threat, just like a wall. Try it, Ray said quietly, and the calm in his voice made it more serious than shouting. The front doors opened. Sheriff Pike entered like he owned the building. The tow driver followed half a step behind him, eyes scanning for Noah the same way people scan for a debt. The store went quieter without anyone meaning to. Conversation stopped mid-word. A cartwheel squeaked and then stopped moving. The only sound was the buzz of the fluorescent lights in Pike's boots on the tile. Pike didn't look at the stranger behind Noah. He didn't acknowledge the manager at first. He went straight for what he wanted. Noah Carter, Pike called, loud, friendly, practiced. There you are. Noah didn't answer. He kept his eyes on the manager. Pike stepped closer, smile in place. It's okay, son. Nobody's in trouble. We just want to clear up a few things. The manager finally found his spine. Sheriff, he asked to move to the receiving bay. If you need to talk, you can talk there. Pike's smile faltered for a fraction. I'm not here to negotiate store policy. The manager's voice went tight. And I'm not here to have a confrontation at my front counter. You can follow us or you can leave. Pike stared at him like he couldn't believe a man in a polo shirt had just spoken to him like that. Then Pike's eyes slid to the stranger behind Noah, recognized him. A flash of something passed between them, not friendship, not respect, coordination, and Noah saw it. Pike's smile widened again, but now it was colder. All right, he said, receiving bay. He looked at Noah. But you're talking to me, not to these contractors. The word contractors landed like a joke nobody laughed at. Noah moved, not running, not hesitating. He walked beside the manager toward the employees-only corridor. Ray stayed one step behind him. The stranger and the aisle 3 man fell in too, close enough to be a problem, far enough to pretend they weren't. Pike followed, badge leading the way. They passed stacked boxes of fasteners, shelves of adhesives, aisles of ducting and pipe fittings. The back of the building smelled different, diesel, dust, and metal. As they approached the receiving bay, the sounds changed. Forklift beeps, pallet jacks, workers shouting numbers over engine noise. It wasn't quiet enough for Pike to control anymore. That's why the men wanted Noah away from the counter. This chaos protected him. The receiving bay door opened onto a wide concrete space with loading docks and rolling metal doors. A forklift moved a pallet of 5-gallon buckets across the floor. Noah's eyes flicked to the labels as it passed. Galvanized roofing nails, 50 pounds. A worker in a safety vest looked over, saw Pike, and immediately froze like a deer spotting headlights. Pike stepped into the bay and turned, positioning himself so Noah was between Pike and the two strangers, like he was protecting him, like he was the good guy. Now, Pike said, voice raised to cut through the machinery, tell me what you were doing on Route 12 at midnight. Noah's mouth went dry. This was the station, just with more cameras and noise. Ray started. He doesn't have to. Pike snapped his head. He does if he wants that shop to stay open. The manager's eyes widened. Sheriff, Pike ignored him. Noah, Pike said, closer now, voice low enough to feel private despite the chaos. You're going to tell me who put you up to this, who told you to come here, who told you to talk about nails. Noah felt his phone buzz again. He didn't check it. He already knew what it would say. Don't talk. Pike leaned closer. Because if you don't, Pike whispered, I'm walking into your school today. I'm pulling you out of class, and I'm telling everyone exactly what kind of people you're running with. Noah's vision narrowed. Anger and fear braided together so tight it felt like it could snap. And then the stranger behind Noah spoke, quiet, confident. Sheriff, he he said. We don't have to scare the kid. We just need him to sign something. Noah's stomach dropped. Sign. That was the trap. Not a conversation, a paper, a statement written for him. Pike's smile returned. Exactly. The tow driver stepped forward with a folded form on a clipboard, like this was a normal Tuesday. Noah stared at it. Ray stepped in front of Noah. No, Pike's eyes hardened. Ray, don't make me arrest you for obstruction. The manager took a step closer, voice rising. Sheriff, you can't force a minor to sign something in my building. Pike turned on him. You don't know what I can do. And in that moment, a forklift's beeping stopped abruptly. The entire receiving bay went quiet for a heartbeat, because the big rolling dock door, one of the metal ones, had begun to lift, not from inside, from outside. Light spilled under it as it rose. Someone was opening it from the yard. Noah's pulse slammed. Ray's head snapped toward the door. Pike stiffened, just slightly, as if he hadn't scheduled that. The door lifted higher, and the sound that rolled in wasn't a forklift. It was engines, not hundreds this time, but enough. A tight, controlled rumble. The Iron Hawks had found them, and the first person to step under the rising door wasn't Cole. It was Duke, limping, jaw set, eyes locked straight on Sheriff Pike like a man walking into a room to collect a debt. The receiving bay door rolled up another foot, and the air changed. Not because more light came in, because the sound came in. A tight, disciplined rumble of engines idling just outside the dock like a warning pulse. Not 500, maybe 20, maybe 30. Enough to make everyone in the bay stop pretending this was just paperwork. Duke stepped under the lifting door first, helmet off, vest on, left leg stiff, eyes hard. He didn't look at Noah. He didn't look at the manager. He looked straight at Sheriff Pike like Pike was a problem he'd been waiting to solve. Behind Duke, more Iron Hawks filed in with the same calm control, hands visible, spacing clean, no shouting. Cole followed a second later, moving like he'd measured every angle before committing. Pike's face tightened, but he recovered fast. He always did. He lifted his chin and turned his badge outward, as if metal could fix what his mouth had just threatened. This is a private business, Pike barked. You don't get to storm in here. Cole didn't raise his voice. We were invited. The Harrington manager blinked. I didn't? Cole's gaze flicked to him. Not by you, by corporate. He nodded once toward the front of the building. Your security desk called it in the moment a minor said he was being threatened. That's standard procedure. The manager's throat worked. He didn't deny it, which told Noah everything. This place had protocols Pike didn't control. Pike pointed at Duke. You, he snapped. Back out, now. Duke took one step forward, slow, controlled, like he knew the weight of every bootfall on concrete. I'm not here for you, Duke said. I'm here for the kid. Pike's smile turned ugly. He's in the middle of an investigation. Cole's eyes sharpened. No, he's in the middle of you trying to force him to sign a statement. The tow driver with the clipboard stiffened like he'd forgotten he had a face. Ray's shoulders lifted like he'd been holding his breath since the counter. He stayed between Noah and the paper anyway, like his body had chosen its job. Pike's eyes snapped to Ray. Move. Ray didn't. Arrest me then, he said, voice rough. Do it on camera. The manager's eyes widened. There are cameras in the bay, he said, suddenly remembering his own building. Audio too. Pike's jaw twitched. Noah noticed the two contractors in the work jackets, one behind him, one near aisle 3, trying to flatten into the background now that the Hawks were here. They weren't moving closer anymore. They were recalculating. Duke's gaze cut to Noah for the first time. Not soft, just direct. You okay? Noah swallowed. They wanted me to sign. Duke's eyes snapped back to Pike. That's what I thought. Pike lifted a hand, palm out, like he was restoring order. Everyone calm down. Nobody is forcing anyone. I'm conducting a lawful interview. Cole stepped half a pace forward. Then do it lawfully. No coercion, no threats. Minor has a guardian, minor requests counsel, and you, Cole said, eyes flicking to the tow driver, are not law enforcement. Put the paper away. The tow driver didn't move until Pike shot him a look. Then he slowly lowered the clipboard like it had become radioactive. Pike's voice rose, pitched for the workers now watching from forklifts and pallets. These men are intimidating the process. That's what's happening here. Cole didn't blink. The only intimidation on record is you threatening to shut down a shop and go to a school to humiliate a minor. The manager's face tightened. You said that? He asked Pike, stunned. Pike's eyes flashed. Watch your tone, the manager's jaw clenched. This is my facility, and I have a minor on camera asking for help. Noah felt something inside him loosen. Not safety. Leverage. Duke shifted his weight, pain cutting across his face for a split second. Then he reached into his vest and pulled out something Noah didn't expect. A small, clear evidence bag. Inside was a roofing nail. Duke held it up at chest height so the cameras could see. This, Duke said, voice steady, came out of my tire last night, fixed by Noah Carter on the shoulder of Route 12. Pike's eyes narrowed. So? Cole's voice came in, precise. So we're documenting a pattern of sabotage, and we're documenting the people trying to silence the first civilian who saw it up close. Noah's phone buzzed in his pocket again. He didn't look. He didn't need to. The threats didn't matter as much when the room had witnesses. Pike took a step toward Noah. Give me your phone, he said. Noah froze. Ray's hand shot out, gripping Noah's shoulder. No. Pike's eyes went flat. Evidence. Cole's voice cut in like a blade. You're not seizing a minor's phone without probable cause and a warrant. And you're not doing it in a private business where every second is recorded. Pike's gaze flicked to the cameras. He hated the cameras. Then, like a man pivoting because his first move failed, Pike turned and pointed at the two strangers in work jackets. You, Pike barked. Who are you? Employees? The stranger behind Noah smiled quickly, trying to wear innocence like a jacket. We were just customers. The manager's eyes narrowed. No, you weren't, he said. I've been watching you on the floor cams. You weren't shopping. You were hovering. The stranger's smile tightened. Cole turned his head slightly to one of the hawks. Ask security to pull their entry footage, Cole said. One hawk nodded and moved, calm. Pike's voice sharpened. Nobody's pulling anything without my approval. The manager's voice rose. Sheriff, you don't approve my cameras. Pike's face reddened. Duke took one more step forward, eyes locked on Pike. You threatened his school, Duke said low. You threatened his uncle's shop. You tried to make him sign. Pike's lips curled. You're a criminal with a limp. Duke didn't react. Maybe, but I'm not the one hiding behind a badge while people get hurt on Route 12. Cole's gaze stayed steady. Here's what happens now, he said. You leave. You don't speak to Noah again without counsel present, and if a single retaliatory inspection hits Carter Auto today, those camera clips go public. Pike laughed once, sharp and fake. Public? You think the public cares what happens in a receiving bay? The manager answered before Cole could. They will if it happens in my building, he said. And corporate will too. Pike's eyes flicked to him, calculating. He could bully Ray. He couldn't bully a corporate chain as easily. The tow driver shifted, suddenly nervous, and that's when Noah saw it. The tow driver's clipboard wasn't just a statement. There were two forms. One was the statement, the other was a tow authorization. For a vehicle. Noah's eyes dropped to the top line, and his stomach turned to ice. Vehicle to be towed. Carter Auto lift truck. Ray saw it too. His face went pale, then hard. Pike noticed their reaction and smiled, small, satisfied. You think I need your permission to make your day difficult? He said softly. Cole's eyes narrowed. You plan to tow their equipment? Pike's smile widened. Safety violation, unregistered commercial equipment, whatever I need it to be. Noah's hands curled into fists. That's our shop. Pike leaned in, voice like poison. Then you should have kept your mouth shut. Duke's jaw flexed. Then Duke did something Noah didn't expect. He turned away from Pike and faced the Harrington manager instead. Call Highway Patrol, Duke said, not the sheriff. Tell them you have evidence of sabotage on a state route and coercion of a minor on camera. Tell them you're requesting immediate outside response. The manager hesitated, then nodded once like a man choosing the only authority left that made sense. He reached for his radio. Janice, he barked, call Highway Patrol, now. Pike's head snapped. You don't have jurisdiction over... Cole cut him off. Neither do you on a state sabotage case if you're compromised. The room held its breath. Pike's hand drifted toward his belt again. Reflex, intimidation, habit. And the stranger in the work jacket, Noah's shadow at the counter, shifted subtly toward a side exit, trying to slip out, Noah saw it and spoke before thinking. "He's leaving," Noah said, loud. Every head turned. The stranger froze. Cole's eyes narrowed. "Stop," Cole said, calm but absolute. The stranger's smile flashed, panicked. "I don't have to." Duke moved. Not fast like a brawl, fast like a decision. He stepped into the stranger's path and blocked the exit with his body. Pain etched across his face, but his eyes steady. "Yeah," Duke said quietly. "You do." "Because you already told the kid he should have stayed off Route 12. The stranger's eyes flicked to Pike. And Pike, Sheriff Pike, looked away, just for a fraction. But it was enough, because everyone in that bay saw it. For a second, nobody moved. Not because they were scared of Pike's badge, because everyone in that receiving bay had just watched the sheriff look away when a civilian glanced at him for permission. It was tiny, half a second, but it landed like a confession. The Harrington manager lifted his radio again, voice clipped and hard. "Janice, Highway Patrol. Now, tell them I need a supervisor on scene." Pike's jaw flexed like he was chewing glass. "You're making a mistake." The manager didn't blink. "No, Sheriff, I'm documenting one." One of the hawks came back from the corridor. "Security is pulling entry footage," he said quietly to Cole. "2 angles, parking lot and front doors." Cole nodded once. "Good." The stranger in the work jacket, Noah's shadow from the counter, shifted again, eyes darting. Duke stood between him and the side exit, body blocking like a gate that wouldn't open. "You're detaining me?" the stranger snapped, trying to flip the script. Duke's voice stayed calm. "I'm standing here." The stranger looked to Pike again, more obvious this time. Pike didn't step in. He didn't order Duke away. He didn't protect a citizen's rights. He just stared at the floor for a fraction too long, then lifted his voice toward the room like he was giving a press statement. "This is an interference situation," Pike said. "Everyone needs to back up." Ray's laugh came out harsh. "Now you want space." Pike ignored him. He turned to Noah, eyes hard. "Noah, give me your phone. Last chance." Noah's stomach tightened, but he didn't move. "No," he said. Pike took a step. Cole stepped too, only half a pace, but it was enough to put himself in Pike's line like a human boundary. "Don't," Cole said, tone still even. The tow driver shifted his clipboard higher like a shield, inching toward Pike. His eyes wouldn't meet anyone else's. He looked like a man who'd done this before and hated that it might finally be seen. Noah's gaze dropped to the second form again. Tow authorization for Carter Auto's lift truck. Pike hadn't abandoned that plan. He'd just brought it into a different room. Ray saw Noah's eyes and whispered, "He can't take it without—" Pike cut him off, loud. "I can tag it for unsafe operation. I can tow it for inspection." Ray's hands clenched. "That's not how it works." Pike's smile was quick and mean. "It does when I say it does." The manager snapped, "Not in my building." Pike turned on him, eyes flashing. "You're going to regret crossing me." The manager's voice rose, shaking with anger now. "You're going to regret threatening people on my cameras." Pike's face went red. His deputies, who'd been hanging back near the bay entrance, shifted uneasily. One of them, older, tired eyes, kept glancing toward the rolling door where the bikes were idling outside, and then toward the manager's camera domes, like he didn't want his name tied to whatever this was. The stranger in the work jacket made a new move. He reached into his jacket pocket slowly, like he was going for a phone. Every body in the bay tightened. Duke's voice dropped. "Hands out." "It's my phone," the stranger snapped, but his eyes were too sharp for that. The man's hand came out, holding a small black device, not a phone, a key fob. He clicked it once. Outside, through the open dock door, a vehicle chirped, an unlocking beep from the dark SUV. Noah's blood ran cold. That SUV wasn't just a follower. It was part of the plan. Cole's eyes narrowed. "Don't move," he said to the stranger. The stranger's mouth tightened. He clicked the fob again. This time, the SUV's engine turned over. A low growl. Ray swore. "He's running." Duke shifted, pain flaring across his face, but he held his ground. "Then let him," Duke said, voice tight. "Let him be seen." The stranger's eyes flicked past Duke to the open dock door and the lot beyond. He was calculating distance, angles, the chance of slipping between people without touching anyone. Pike saw the opportunity and made his move at the exact worst time. "Enough," Pike snapped. He reached toward Noah's pocket, toward the phone, fast, like he'd decided cameras didn't matter anymore. Ray lunged, grabbing Pike's wrist. "Don't touch my kid!" Pike twisted hard, training, leverage, pain. Ray grunted, his shoulder dipping. For a split second, it looked like Pike was going to slam Ray to the concrete to win the moment. Noah stepped forward instinctively, and Cole's voice cut across the bay like a command. "Stop!" The word landed heavy. Even the forklift operator froze. Pike hesitated, eyes flicking to the cameras, to the watchers, to the manager's radio still crackling with someone on the other end trying to connect highway patrol. That hesitation saved Ray from going down, but it gave the stranger his gap. He darted sideways, shoulder brushing a pallet, slipping around Duke's bad leg side where Duke couldn't pivot fast. Duke reached out and caught only fabric, work jacket sliding through his fingers. The stranger sprinted toward the dock opening. Two Hawks moved to intercept without running, controlled, blocking angles. The stranger juked, slipped between them, and hit the daylight. Outside, the SUV was already rolling. Not fast yet, just moving, like the driver wanted to look normal until he cleared the lot. Cole moved to the dock edge and raised his voice toward the yard. "Plates!" A Hawk near the bikes lifted his phone, zooming, tracking the SUV as it turned. The SUV accelerated, and that's when the tow driver, still inside the bay, made his own move. He turned and bolted, not toward the dock opening, but toward a side corridor door that led back into the store. Ray shouted, "He's running too!" Pike spun, and for a heartbeat he looked like he might chase the tow driver. Then he didn't. He watched the tow driver go, just like he'd looked away for the stranger. Noah felt something snap into clarity so sharp it hurt. Pike wasn't trying to stop anything. He was trying to control what got seen. The manager's radio crackled. "Janice says highway patrol supervisor's en route, ETA 10. Pike's head snapped. "No," he barked. Cole turned slightly toward Noah, low enough only Noah and Ray could hear. "You can't go back to the shop," he said. "Not yet," Ray's voice broke. "He's going to tow our lift truck." Cole's gaze stayed steady. "He's going to try." Outside, the SUV hit the road and disappeared behind the contractor yard fence. The bikes didn't chase. They didn't need to. The plate had been captured. The cameras had it. The building had it. Now it was evidence, not a street fight. Inside, Pike's face tightened as he realized he'd lost the room. He pointed at Noah one last time, voice venomous. "This is what you wanted?" he hissed. "You just lit a match." Noah met his eyes, heart pounding. "No," Noah said. "You did." Pike's smile returned, but it was different now, thin, desperate. "Fine," Pike said. "Then watch what burns first." He turned and walked out of the receiving bay with his deputies, fast enough to look like retreat without admitting it. The moment Pike was gone, Noah's phone buzzed again. New message from the unknown local number. A single photo. Carter Auto's front bay. Smoke curling out from under the door, and one line, "Too late." Noah didn't remember crossing the Harrington lot. He remembered the taste of metal in his mouth, the cold slap of morning air, Ray's hand crushing his shoulder as they ran, Duke's voice behind them, sharp, controlled, telling Hawks to stay with the manager, stay with the cameras, keep the footage safe. But Noah couldn't keep footage safe if his whole life was turning to ash. They hit the truck. Ray tore the door open. Noah was already inside before the seat could catch him. The engine roared, tires chirping as Ray yanked them out of the lot. Noah's phone shook in his hands. The photo again. Carter Auto. Smoke. The exact angle across Mill Road. We're already here. It hadn't been a threat. It had been the opening shot. Ray's knuckles were white on the wheel. "Call 911, he snapped. Noah's voice came out thin. "If it's Pike." "Call fire," Ray said. "Not the sheriff. Fire," Noah called. His hands kept slipping. He managed to choke out the address. The dispatcher's voice was too calm. As they barreled down the road, Noah stared out the windshield and saw the county like he'd never seen it. Quiet businesses, school buses starting their routes, people living their normal morning while his world burned. Ray cut onto Mill Road, and Noah's stomach dropped before he even saw it. Smoke was real, not just a picture. A thick gray ribbon curled from under the bay door of Carter Auto. The neon sign flickered weakly in daylight like it was trying to pretend nothing was happening. Two neighbors stood in the road filming. A third held a garden hose, spraying useless water at the seam of the door. Ray slammed the truck into the gravel and jumped out before it stopped moving. "Noah, stay!" Noah was already out. Heat hit him first, then the smell. Burning rubber, hot oil, melting plastic. The kind of smell that didn't leave your clothes for days. Noah ran toward the bay door and grabbed the handle. Ray tackled him sideways. "No!" Ray barked. "You open that! It flashes!" Noah fought him for a second, pure animal panic. Then his eyes focused enough to see the smoke pulsing in thick breaths. Flashover. Ray was right. One rush of oxygen and the whole bay would ignite. Noah's chest heaved. The paperwork?" Ray shouted over the hiss of the neighbor's hose. "Forget it!" Noah's mind screamed no. Permits. Receipts. The scholarship folder he'd saved was in his backpack at Harrington, thank God. But everything else, the shop's proof of existence, was in that office. A siren rose in the distance. Another. Fire, not police. Noah grabbed that sound like a lifeline. Across the street, a woman yelled, "Who did this?" And nobody answered, because everyone knew. The fire engine hit the corner and rolled up fast, men in gear already moving before it stopped. They pulled hoses. They forced the side door rather than the bay, smart, controlled, practiced. Noah stood shaking, helpless, watching strangers fight to save the only place that had ever made him feel useful. And then, like the universe couldn't stand to leave one cruelty unused, Sheriff Pike's cruiser rolled into view and slowed. Pike didn't get out right away. He sat in the driver's seat for a beat, watching the fire like a man watching a clock reach the time he wanted. Then, he stepped out and walked toward the crowd with his hands on his belt. "Everyone back," Pike called. "Give the firefighters room." Ray turned on him, face raw. "You stay away from us." Pike's eyes slid over Ray, then to Noah. "Tragic," he said, voice smooth. "Electrical?" Noah's teeth clenched. "You know damn well." Ray grabbed Noah's shoulder hard. "Don't," he hissed. Pike's smile was small. "Careful, kid. You're emotional." A firefighter stepped out of the side door, coughing, visor streaked with soot. He shook his head at the captain. Bad sign. The bay wasn't just smoking, it was eating itself from the inside. Pike glanced at the scene like it bored him. "Now," he said, turning to Ray. "About that inspection." Duke's bike rolled up behind Pike. No rumble of a crowd this time, just Duke, Cole, and a few hawks arriving like they'd been pulled by gravity. Duke parked, killed the engine, and limped forward with a phone already recording. Cole didn't shout. He didn't threaten. He simply walked to a spot where Pike would have to look at him if he wanted to keep speaking. Pike stiffened. "You again." Cole's voice stayed even. "Sheriff Pike, this property was targeted less than an hour after you threatened retaliation on camera. That's a fact," Pike scoffed. "You don't know that." Duke lifted his phone slightly. "We do," Duke said, "because we've got your face on Harrington's receiving bay audio saying you'd make something burn first." Pike's smile twitched. Cole continued, "Highway Patrol's already en route to Harrington for the sabotage case and coercion footage. They're going to want to speak to you about why your tow driver ran and why a civilian looked to you before fleeing." Pike's eyes flashed. "You think Patrol cares what you people say?" Cole's gaze didn't change. "They will when they see plates, entry footage, and a pattern of punctures on a state route, and when they see you present at multiple nodes in the chain." Noah's phone buzzed in his pocket again. Unknown number. He didn't want to look. He looked. A final message. "You could have been quiet." Noah stared at the screen. His hands stopped shaking, not because he wasn't afraid, but because something in him finally settled into place. Quiet had never been safety. Quiet had been submission. He raised the phone, screen out, and showed it to Cole. Cole nodded once. "Save it," he said. "Screenshot it. Forward it to the patrol contact when they arrive." Pike saw Noah hand the phone away and his expression tightened. "Give that back," he snapped. Cole didn't move. "No." Pike took one step forward. A firefighter captain stepped between them, not even looking at Pike. "Sheriff, I need you off my scene," the captain said, voice flat. "You're in the way." Pike's jaw worked. He wasn't used to being told no by anyone who didn't fear him. Then another vehicle pulled up, unmarked, clean, not local sheriff paint. 2 troopers in tan stepped out, calm, purposeful. Highway Patrol. They didn't rush. They didn't posture. They walked straight toward the cluster and scanned faces like professionals reading a report. One trooper looked at the burning bay, then at Noah's soot-streaked face, then at Cole's calm stance. then at Pike. "Sheriff Pike?" the trooper asked. Pike straightened. "That's me." The trooper nodded once. "We need to speak with you about a state route sabotage investigation, potential interference, and an incident recorded at Harrington Supply involving a miner." Pike's smile returned, thin. "This is my county." The trooper's expression didn't change. "This is a state route." And for the first time all morning, Pike didn't have a ready line. Noah watched Pike's eyes flick sideways, searching for an exit that didn't look like retreat. There wasn't one. The second trooper turned to the captain. "Fire's under control." "Not yet," the captain said, "but we're keeping it from spreading." Noah stared at the bay door, smoke thinning now as water and foam did their work. The shop would survive in pieces, maybe, but the heart of it, tools, lift, parts, was being eaten alive. Ray stood beside Noah, silent, jaw clenched so tight the muscle jumped. Cole lowered his voice toward Noah. "You did the right thing," he said, "even if it cost you." Noah's throat burned. "Right doesn't rebuild walls." Duke's eyes narrowed. "No," Duke said, "but it rebuilds leverage." He nodded toward the troopers and Pike. "And leverage rebuilds everything else." The troopers began asking Pike questions on the spot. Not friendly, not hostile, just precise. Dates, times, where he'd been, why his tow truck was at Harrington, why a tow authorization existed for Carter Auto Equipment. Pike tried to talk over them, tried to redirect, tried to turn it into outsiders causing trouble. They didn't bite. Noah realized with a sick calm that Pike wasn't powerful because he was smart. He was powerful because nobody ever made him answer questions he couldn't bully away. Now he was answering them in front of witnesses. Ray's phone buzzed. He checked it, then showed Noah. A text from the scholarship coordinator. "We heard something happened this morning. Are you safe?" Noah stared at it like it was from another life. Cole saw Noah's face and said, "When this settles, you go public properly. Not screaming, not fighting, facts." Duke added, "And you keep working, because they want you broke and scared. That's the whole point." Noah looked at the burning bay again. Tears stung, but he didn't let them fall. Not because he was tough, because his body didn't know how to waste anything anymore. Hours later, when the fire was finally dead and the bay door was cut open, the inside looked like a bomb had gone off in slow motion. Charred shelves, melted plastic. The lift still standing, blackened but upright like a skeleton refusing to fall. Ray stood in the doorway and swallowed hard. "We're finished," he whispered. Noah's voice came out raw. "No." Ray turned, eyes bloodshot. "Noah." Noah looked at the street, at the troopers still working, at Pike, now separated, speaking to someone who didn't smile at his badge, at Duke and Cole standing quietly, not celebrating, not posturing, just present. Noah shook his head. "They wanted us finished," he said. "That's different." Cole walked up beside them and held out a folded document, printed, clean. Not cash, not charity. A contract proposal. "Temporary workspace," Cole said. "One of our members owns a warehouse 2 towns over. Legit lease, short term. Enough to keep you operating while insurance and investigations move." Ray blinked. "We can't," Duke cut in. "You can," he said, "because it's not a gift, it's payment." Noah looked at Duke. Duke's eyes held steady. "You saved my life last night," Duke said. "You just didn't see it yet." Ray's throat worked. He looked at Noah like he was trying to decide whether accepting help would make them owned. Noah thought of the texts, the threats, Pike's smile, the town's silence. Then he looked at the burned bay, at the blackened lift that still stood. He nodded once. "We take it," Noah said. Ray's eyes widened. "Noah." Noah didn't look away. "We take it, we rebuild, and we don't owe Pike our fear." Ray's shoulders sagged. Then he nodded, small, broken, but real. The trooper walked over a little later, expression controlled. "Noah Carter?" Noah stepped forward. "We'll need a formal statement," the trooper said, "with a guardian and counsel present." Noah nodded. "Okay." "And," the trooper added, glancing toward Pike, "you did the right thing coming forward." Noah almost laughed at the word coming forward. He hadn't wanted to. He'd been forced. But maybe that was how it always started. By the time the sun was high, Pike's cruiser was gone. Not because he'd been arrested on the spot, because the troopers didn't do theater, they did process, and process was the one thing Pike couldn't bully. As the street cleared and the neighbors finally put their phones down, Noah stood in the soot and looked at the sign that still hung crooked over the bay. Carter Auto. Ray's hand landed on his shoulder, heavy. "You sure about this?" Noah's voice was quiet, steady. "I'm sure I'm not shutting up." Duke walked to his bike, then paused and looked back. "Kid," he said, "when 500 bikes showed up at dawn, your town thought it was a threat." Noah didn't answer. Duke nodded once. "It was," he said, "to the people who thought nobody would ever fight back." Then he swung a leg over the seat carefully and started the engine. The rumble was low, controlled, fading down Mill Road. Noah watched it go, then turned back to the burned shop. Not the end. Just the last thing the town would ever take from him for free.